Morning, beloved. Peace be with you. We remind ourselves we're preaching from the Psalms into the rest of the Scriptures. So through the Psalms, or through the lens of our Psalm today, into the Old Testament first reading, and then pointing us forward to the Gospel and seeing how the church wants to set us up for some good insights today. And our responsorial psalm, what we declared is, "In you, my God, I place my trust." This is coming from Psalm 91. It's a psalm of trust. And in this psalm, we hear a lot of declarations. And it's important that we learn to make declarations and speak them out loud. We have to get our thoughts out loud around us. And that begins what changes the atmosphere around us. When we're doing declarations of trust, because there's a reason to remind ourselves to trust, huh? Usually we're going through a difficult time, a time of distress, a challenging time. And so we're reminding ourselves, or maybe those around us too, to trust in the Lord. So, in you, my God, I place my trust. This is the declaration we're repeating so we can flesh this in our life. This is an interesting psalm, at least these portions, these couple verses we give today, because we not only have the psalmist speaking, but actually our last section here is actually God speaking to us. Usually it's the psalmist speaking or we're speaking, but here we have actually God reminding some of his promises for us. So just listen to some of this language again so we get the context of trust. You who dwell in the shelter of the Most High, who abide in the shadow of the Almighty. This is all speaking to us who are staying, you could say, in the presence of God, consciously, intentionally in God's presence. God's presence is everywhere, so we're always in God's presence. But this is speaking about intentional, conscious presence. There's a difference when you're aware of God's presence around you and when you're not feeling the connection, huh? He's always there, but sometimes you feel it and sometimes you don't. And when you feel it, it makes all the difference, doesn't it? Especially if you're going through hard times of distress or you have to make decisions and you need God in your life. When you're conscious of his presence, okay, now there's all that reassurance there. Sometimes the consciousness comes from declaring, "In you, my God, I will place my trust." Here, there's some conscious intentionality because you who dwell in the shelter of the Most High, listen, dwelling, your home, your living, constantly, consistently, consciously, under the shelter of the Most High, in God's presence. Your home is in God's presence. You're abiding, you're remaining, you're not moving, you're not wiggling, you're staying steady, you're staying firm in the shadow of the Almighty. Say to the Lord, my refuge, my fortress, my God in whom I trust. A refuge and a fortress is a giant shelter when you're under attack. That's when you go into the fortress and the refuge, when you're under attack. So this is the context here. We're declaring that we're going to trust in the Lord even though we're under attack, even though there's chaos all around us and things are not comfortable. This is when we declare that I will stay here and trust in the Lord. I'm not going to move from this situation because I'm afraid of my self-survival mode kicking in, or because something is threatening me. I'm going to stay here. See, the context is very important. Easy to trust God when everything's going well and when you're feeling all the blessings around you and all the consolation. Oh, yes, the money is flowing in and you're all healthy and all your loved ones are healthy. Easy. Oh, yes, I trust God. Well, how about when it's all falling apart? And this is the context of the psalm. When it's all falling apart, what are you going to do? He will rescue you from the snare of the fowler. That means somebody's trying to trap you. If you've been in the corporate world, people try to trap you, trick you, step on you, use you. He will rescue you from the destroying pestilence. With his pinions he will cover you. Under his wings you shall take refuge. Now, this is the imagery that comes all through the scriptures in different times. You know, how God is like this mother hen covering us with his wings, and we're his little chicks sometimes, you know. And you've seen the image. Well, when there's a storm coming down and the mom is covering the baby birds, they're not comfortable, are they? And it's cold and rainy and wet, and they're shivering and they're afraid, but they're under the safety of mama's wings. And this is the context again. This is more imagery for us. It's so important to get this. This is when we stand firm and trust in the Lord. And when we're trusting the Lord, it's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be chaos. There's going to be storms all around you. And you might be shivering and scared and just, it's going to look like it's not going to work out. And these are the times that we have to stay abiding, dwelling under his wings. And the shelter, the shadow, the refuge, the fortress under his wings means that all points to consciously in his presence. How do you and I get conscious that we're in his presence? One of the biggest ways is to start singing praise and worship to him. Praise him and worship him and remind yourself as you're declaring and singing how wonderful he is and all the wonderful things he has done in your life, and how even when things are going wrong, he's still wonderful. And guess what? You become aware, your spirit becomes aware of his presence because your spirit begins to commune with his spirit because you're praising and you're worshiping. And the declarations of trust become your prayer language. And now you're in dialogue and communication. And you become more aware consciously of his presence and that you're in his presence than the storms that are around you. Now you're in the refuge. See? And we can say this right now at the pulpit, but you and I won't get this until we're in the midst of some kind of storm, putting this into practice. And then we say, this works. This is what the psalmist was talking about. In you, my God, I place my trust. This is our psalm, our response. Remember, we said we're responding to, this is us talking, we're responding, saying something back to God based on what he has said to us in the first reading. Is there anything happening in the first reading that would bear a response like this of trust? Well, for sure, the whole first half, this experience that Jacob has within this dream with God, and God speaking to him, all these promises to him, right? Here's the Lord. And many of these promises are just repeats of what he's already given to Abraham and to Isaac. And he's saying, and I'm going to do it in your life too. I am the Lord, the God of your forefather Abraham, the God of Isaac. The land which you are lying on, I will give to you and your descendants. Well, he already promised that to Abraham, right? He's just renewing the promise, generation after generation after generation. These descendants will be as plentiful as the dust of the earth. And through you will spread out east, west, north, south, everywhere. And hopefully this sounds familiar. In you and your descendants, all the nations of the earth shall find blessing. Remember, we said this yesterday and Saturday night, depending on what Mass you went to, reminding us of this worldwide blessing through the descendants of Abraham. So every time they get blessed, we get blessed. Jerusalem gets blessed, we get blessed. Israel gets blessed, we get blessed. So we rejoice every time God blesses them because we get blessed too. All the blessings go on them, through them, to the rest of us. He makes all these promises to him. One of his last promises, that I will never leave you until I have done what I have promised. This is what God says. I will never leave you until I've done all that I promised. And then we respond, well, then in you, God, I place my trust. You promise all these things and you're never going to leave you? Well, then, in you I place my trust. What a good response, huh? See, when God speaks, we need to respond. And so God speaks all these promises and blessings in the first reading, and our response is, well, in you, my God, I will place my trust. Jacob's not comfortable. He's on the run. He doesn't have a home right now. He's sleeping outside in the fields. He's on his way journeying to some of his family's house, on his mother's side, and he doesn't even know them. He doesn't even know if they'll accept him. He's not comfortable, and he's declaring, in you, my God, I will place my trust. We point this forward to the gospel. Do we have any situations in the gospel where we're hearing situations of people putting their trust in the Lord? Yeah, these are tough times too. We get this, let's just stick with the man and his daughter who has died. And just slow that down and break that open. His daughter just died. There's already a funeral in motion. The mourners are there wailing out loud, and he walks away from it all. And we don't know if his wife agreed with him or not. We don't even know if he probably told her, honey, we have to find Jesus. How many of us respond like this? This is our first response. Our loved one dies, and we say, well, I got to find Jesus so he can lay his hands on him and bring her back. I don't know, when my dad died, I was thinking this, but I didn't have no faith for it. I was just too crushed, brokenhearted. This father, he said, honey, he still had trust. I'm going to go find Jesus. And he walked away. Probably all the mourners say, the father's not even going to be here during the funeral time? What's going on with this guy? He walks away from everything to find Jesus. He says, Jesus, my daughter has just died, but come lay your hand on her and she will live. This is reminding us, trust is not just something we're declaring in hard times, but trust needs to move us to action. We act on it. We put it in here, his trust puts him into action to go find Jesus. This is not like he could just, Jesus, share your location on the cell phone with me. He's got to go search, ask around, find out where he is, and then go, he just asked him bluntly, will you lay your hands on my daughter? Jesus goes right away. This is just so important for us. So this is the lesson the church is giving us. When we look at all these scriptures through the psalm, this lesson of declaration, in you, my God, I will place my trust. When the storms are all around me, and I will become more conscious of your presence by worship and praise and prayer. And if, need be, I'll look foolish with everybody around me, so I can go find you in the midst of the commotion, in the midst of death, and I'll find you so that I can experience life with you. This is all before Jesus, died, rose, and sent his Spirit. These are men and women of strong faith, strong trust, good examples for us, huh? I know what's going on in your life. I only know what's going on in my life. But how is the Lord encouraging you this morning through these words to place your trust in him? By declaring out loud, by growing a conscious awareness of his presence in whatever storms may come your way this day or this week. And even to put that trust into action sometimes, where you have to sometimes walk away from whatever the situation is, to go find Jesus and then bring him back into that situation so he can bring life into it.